Welcome to the 1940 introduction. Panzer Corps Grand Campaign, Rommel-Manstein-Field, Marshal difficulties. Let's just have a look at what we are going to be talking about in this introduction. After I have started up the 1941 campaign and force loaded the Panzer 4E, which will be commanded by Victor. We'll just go through these points on the agenda. I'll just review what happened in 1940, talk a little bit about managing the difficulties again. I also did that the last time, and then also take a look at how we handle ourselves in 1940. Quite a lot of improvements actually, and a bit about where the Corps is right now, its composition, kills by unit and total losses, and also kills by unit class, and we will also have a look at experience. We didn't do that in the 1940 introduction. And of course we'll also have a look at the prestige curve. We need to carefully monitor how that's going. 1940, playing this is similar to playing on Manstein, but I made some improvements, and some of them are quite significant and also important to understand in how these improvements matter. One thing we do here is we farm whenever we can, because we need to get the kills, and we need to get the XP, and we need to get the prestige whenever possible. One major change that has happened in the way I used compared to the way I used to play it is that throughout, when I played it on Manstein, most battles in 1940 were done with 8 artillery pieces, but I'm actually up to 10 now. And the reason why I can afford that is that I have managed to handle air defenses with fewer air units and fewer AA. So these two actually synergize. We can, because and it didn't come from it came from necessity, because I only had until we ran into Sedan, I only had Ace. So it was necessary to handle it with him, and I found out how to do that. But as a side bonus, we were able to get 2 more artillery pieces in each battle, and it makes a big difference. It's just like, it's the artillery that makes it possible for us to smash through the enemy quickly. So that has really been a very positive change, being able to simply being challenged to handle the air defenses with fewer air defense units, and then as a side bonus be able to get 2 more artillery pieces in. And remember, air defense, it's not something we like, but we have to do it. It has simply increased the kill power of the Corps. One thing I also did in 1940 was that I deliberately used the Stukas as little as I could get away with. Later on we will not have a choice, so don't worry guys. Nate and Hector, you will see a lot of action, but at the moment I'm trying to hold you back as much as I can, simply because I want to get XP on other units. So I will often lose in many battles. I deliberately went for using level bombers instead, to have this ability to put in additional suppression without using these bloody Stukas that just kill everything. But having the level bombers, remember, they're not as good as the artillery early on, and it's bloody annoying that you can't get that upgraded Dornier unless you want to pay the prestige, and I'm not. So we have to wait a while until we get really good level bombs. We get the Flying Coffin, the upgraded Heinkel at some point. I don't even remember when. Many of the tactics had improved. Many of the battles had improved tactics. I will go through that in the review of the 1940. And as I said, you can already see the point here that air defense has changed. We're doing it with fewer units. That means we have fewer passive units, or fewer. I don't like having air defense, but I have to. But because I can cut down, I can use more artillery. And still, you saw that throughout 1940. Experience is just the biggest problem we have in the campaign. Manstein I can handle with overstrength units, but Rommel I can handle by being watching my position carefully, but the experience is a problem. And I still just like to remark that ultimate difficulty, it's we're close so than we used to be able to do this, but it's still bloody difficult. I can often reduce by 1 to 3 turns, and if I need to reduce by 5 turns, I have to be reckless. And if you're reckless without chest dice, you're going to take chip damage, a lot of it. That's my experience. I know from experience when typically when it says you take 0% damage or 0 damage, then when you look at it, it's like it cannot be up to like 49% chance of taking damage, and that means on average these let's just say that on average the cases where you think you're not going to take damage, maybe it's 25% risk. And maybe you only have 10 of those in a battle, but if they amount to like maybe 2-3 points of chip damage every battle, it'll start draining your prestige, because you have to have these overstrength units, and then the elite replacements are expensive. So I don't like being reckless. The way we manage the difficulties has not changed much. Rommel is now really just, initially it was a problem until we started actually having a prestige reserve, but now it's just the usual thing we do. Watch your soft cap, don't get too much overstrength, and don't be too spendy. For Manstein, it's just a continual problem. In some cases, Manstein is actually an advantage because you can get bigger surrenders. But one thing Manstein requires is that we have to have overstrength on our units to be able to deter enemy attacks. That is this Bakata principle of roadblocks. For me, it's about control. I need to make sure that when I put a tank at a location covering a position, that the enemy tanks are not going to smash into that tank. We simply cannot have that. If we have that, we have a loss of control, and that's just, it's devastating. Field Marshal was initially the biggest, well, not initially, but it became the biggest problem after Rommel had petered out. And it is a really big problem getting the experience on some of the units. Some of the units hardly gain any experience at all. Many of the infantry don't get any experience when they hit typically when they fire against the close defense rating, they rarely get any XP. But what we do is we rotate, of course, as much as we can, and I also focus on hitting in ways that will get me XP. It's typically like infantry hitting stuff in the open. It's better than hitting in close defense zones. Tanks hitting, at least that's my impression, tanks hitting stuff that is has entrenchment or is in close defense zones. Infantry will also get you more XP. So we need to watch what we can do. And I also have a hunch that you actually get a lot for hitting artillery with tanks. That may be the attack rating of the artillery, but of course if that turns out to be the case, I should do it a lot more. Let's just have a look at the 1940 battles here. I just listed them because I thought it was a cool thing to do. Also just so we can summarize what the improvements to the tactics actually did. Remember especially that we were able to handle the manage air defenses with fewer units, with fewer resources. And even mail the key, the way we do it, the key is really the Liège push south, the way I did that, and it's similar to what has been done before, but I'm doing it faster now. We lure the enemy infantry in to hit an anti-tank gun with a defensive artillery, and then we surrender them and destroy them. That's the way you push south fast in Liège. And in fact, I've improved it quite a lot. Sorry, in mail I've improved it quite a lot. I used to be a little bit concerned with the enemy infantry that spawns in the north, but I managed them as well here. For Albert Canal, it's the push towards Antwerp. That's the challenge. What we do here is we overwhelm the enemy units the way we always do, surrender them. But also we have better air traps here, and I managed to trigger so I know when I'm going to get hit by air attacks. At the Haag, the main challenges are the mass of infantry, but we managed them with surrenders, getting in behind them with Kasia and surrendering them. And also a massive improvement for Den Haag is the schedule air traps, where we pull in a fighter. They remember they spawn as a fighter and a bomber. We make sure the bomber can't reach anything, trap the fighter instead, kill the fighter, and then trap the bomber. So that's the way you handle them. At Sedan, the difficult part is that if you push through Sedan, it's going to take quite a lot of time. So that battle was completely revamped in the way I did it here. We outflanked them, sail across the Meuse as we're supposed to, and we exploit the triggers. Some of them are timers, and some of them are by capturing Victor X's, and we have the Sedan bottleneck where we can just take the enemy counterattack in and destroy it while our flanks are chewing them. At Maubeuge, the difficult part with Maubeuge, in my experience, has always been that the infantry, especially the infantry that's far away from you, will be heavily entrenched, and they are going to fire back against air units, so we can't strafe them down. And that's why I come in here with 2 level bombers in that battle. That worked extremely well when I did it. So level bombers, key tactics, often a key tactics in 1940 to get that extra speed on our advance. At Arras, tons of British tanks, much improved here by drawing the attacks to 2 heavily defended positions, avoiding the center, drawing them to the 2 flanks, either to the south where the crazy 88 will knock them out, or to the north where the infantry will show the tanks what it means to fight in the bocage. At Calais, the problem has always been reaching Calais before we get spam. What I do now is that I destroy the left while holding the right, and that means I can get quickly forward to Calais and block them, and then when we've done that, we destroy the right and move that forward. So it's a very imbalanced way of doing it, where we've first rush forward, hold the right, break through on the left, then we switch over and break through on the right. So it's a way to make sure we get our punch concentrated. At Dunkirk, it is kind of an oddball, because you can do it in pretty much any way you like. What I preferred at Dunkirk this time was getting anti-tank experience, and then of course we need to kill the stuff, and of level bomber kills as well, of course. At Rheims, the biggest challenge has always been that the counterattack can tie you down for substantial time, and by the time you've destroyed it, you might find yourself running out of time. So what we do with that is we exploit the trigger, which is we don't take the central objective until the last turn, then the French counterattack doesn't trigger at all. That's a very, very abusive exploitation here. Dijon, problem has always been that we need to move fast. We need to get south very fast. But what I have done now is in improvement is that I realized that the French tanks are glued to the Victor hexes, so you can just bypass them quite easily. And also, of course, we need to do the southern thing with a level bomber and Marshal. And one thing I didn't do, I kind of regret, that is I didn't get Goose down to help Marshal. That would have been an improvement. Goose could have easily gone in behind enemy lines and helped. At Maginot, the problem has always been the heavily entrenched infantry. What we do is, and I kind of always done that, but I've optimized it here, that we suppress them and destroy them, or we take away the ammo and then hit them with an auxiliary, so they can be spanked down by our core units free of cost. It's also a good way to get experience. What I was able to do here was I actually managed to counterattack on the right flank. Okay. Next slide. Here's the Army Corps as it looks at the moment. We have our 4th SE tank has joined us, Rictor, and otherwise things are unchanged. If you want to command a unit, the yellow ones are still available. The ones that actually don't have yeah, all the yellow ones are in principle available. If you want a command, just let me know in the comment section. Now for infantry, for kills here, you can see I've extended this to show the 39 and the 40 kills. And of course, keep in mind, this is not something where, oh wow, my unit did really well. Well, he did because I deployed him. Okay, just keep that in mind. You can see that in infantry you have Ole Dia, of course, as always, going nuts. And you can see that Sora, Dreinger, Moncha and Ponce did most of the fighting in 1940. Richard Martin and Mühlner will do most of the fighting in 1941. And of course we have Jens Becker joining us in a few battles. He will also be busy every battle in 1941. So that's what it looks like for the infantry. Tank kills, you can see fairly even actually. The tanks are not killing everything they see. They only kill when it's, you can say, necessary, or when this makes sense. But if I can kill with anti-tank or infantry instead, I will do it, because the tanks have the whole campaign to earn 5 stars. For artillery, you can see quite even in 1940 with the kills, except maybe the 2 first Sturmpanzers are a little bit below the others, but otherwise a couple of 100 kills on every artillery piece, and most of the battles they all went into action. I really like that. It just gives me incredible kill power. That every frontline unit has a lot of backup when we have this setup. For our miscellaneous units, we have you can see Koshevsky and Goose have both killed evenly. Goose is a little bit ahead. The anti-tankers have been really busy in 1940 because I needed to get them up to 2 stars. It was just essential. And we did solve the problem that we had. We started with anti-tankers that had too low experience. For AA, Reddits and Bomber, whenever they go into action, I try to find a way to farm, to get them to farm. Not that they will be doing that the whole campaign. There are battles where they need to be deployed, and then they just need to be available for air defense all the time, because later on we just get hit by waves of enemy attacks. So but I'm using the opportunity now to get them worked up, and they gain XP quite fast. One concern I have is that the 288s, I suspect they are going to get really slow XP once get above 3-4 stars, because they have so high attack ratings. So I'm a bit concerned with that. For our air units, you can see that the level bombers have killed. All of them are above 100 kills now. They have an Iron Cross, and you can see Hector and Nate almost 1,000 kills in total. But they are only going into action as necessary in 1940, and I will continue the same in 41. But as we are already in 41, as we go further in 41, they will be quite busy, especially when you get to a battle like Vyazma and Moscow as well. So don't worry, guys, you will get to see a lot of action. Also, the fighters are doing well, as you can see. Total annual casualties on the bottom here, you can see that, and it actually surprised me. I had fewer casualties that I had on Manstein. Remember that this plays mostly like Manstein, but we had a little bit fewer casualties. I was surprised by that. And when we had them, they were mostly on cheap units, like Koshevsky took quite a few hits in during 1940, as well as Goose. So no worries about these losses, and in fact they are fewer than I had on Manstein. I thought I had more, but I didn't. So it's looking good. It's important to keep these casualties down because we are on a budget. Total kills. Here you can see how it looks with our RMF is, of course, Rommel-Manstein-Field Marshal, as you can see on the legend. What should we say about this? We can say that in 1940 we actually killed less with infantry than we did on Manstein. That does not sound too good, but remember we didn't have the 2 SE infantry. here. I got rid of them as soon as I could. So that's maybe an explanation. My infantry has been fighting a lot, so I think I'm quite happy with them. You can also see that the tanks have killed more than they did on Manstein, and especially the anti-tank guns have killed a crazy amount, and the artillery has killed a lot as well, because we have more artillery with us. And you can see the tank bombers have killed less, but that's because that's a deliberate choice. Instead of just smashing stuff with Stukas, I go and suppress them and get up close and personal with all my ground units and kill stuff. It's much better when you want XP. The Stukas will not have any problems reaching 5 stars. I think that's good enough for that slide. For our experience that has not been seen before, so you can see here again, this is a matter of having been deployed, so don't be disappointed if you're a little bit behind. You may not have seen much action as Mjølner hasn't. But for the infantry, you can see we have 4 of them are now at 2 stars. That's only Deer, Solodringer and Ponce. Muncher is getting close, and we have Mjølner and Richard Martin going into action throughout 1941. For the tanks, you can see they're also doing well. They're close to 3 stars, many of them. All of them are. I'm above 3 stars, but the other ones are catching up, of course. Our new tank, Victor, will have a hell of a job getting up to snuff in 1940. I think he can get to 2 stars in 1941. I don't think he'll get to 3 stars, but he'll be fine. Artillery, you can see, and here you can see the crazy imbalance in the game. The way it's just incredibly difficult to get the XP on the infantry, and the artillery just, they are almost all of them are at 325 now, except the 3rd Battalion of the 30 Regiment. But this is just, it's a formality to get this XP on the artillery, and it's bloody annoying. For miscellaneous units, you can see the scouts, I think they will be fine. They gain XP quite fast because their attack ratings aren't that high. Anti-tank guns are all above 2 stars, and it's still an interesting question. I think I will get at least 2 of them to 3 stars during 1941, but it's still an interesting question how to get them XP, because they hit so hard now that I suspect they're not getting much for killing tanks. I'll have to watch that carefully. And for our air defenses, you can see these 2 guys are catching up nicely, while I suspect the 88s will be, I'll have to figure out something to get them XP, but if I end up with 4-star 88s at the end, I'm fine. They are so strong in air defense, so the 5 stars is not really necessary. And air units, yeah, again you can see they hit max XP almost. High XP is a little bit behind, but who cares? They'll be fine. Again, in crazy imbalance. Now, prestige. You can see from our prestige curve, the one we have for Rommel-Manstein-Field Marshal is the one at the bottom, and we are seeing now that we are actually we are low. We are sitting around 80% of Rommel. I don't know if it'll catch up, but one of the reasons early on I thought it was just because I had purchased more, but it's also because I'm adding more overstrength. So that's I'm investing in more overstrength. That's costing. We ought to be climbing at. I mean, honestly, if I can stay at 80% of Rommel, I think I'll be fine. Remember, at Rommel we burned a crap load at the end because we didn't know what to do with it. And also remember, we'll reach this point at some point. We'll say, to hell with the soft cap, and we just let it drop to 20 because we have enough prestige to finish the job. At Rommel, that happened. Both Rommel and Manstein, it happened in somewhere in 1944, and you can see when it starts just. That you can see after when your prestige starts dropping instead of increasing, and it's because you have said to hell with it for the soft cap. I think that's it, and I am still in the process of preparing the Belgrade battle, and I will see you when that happens.